Hi, my name's Ike Ahmed from Toronto, Ontario. We're here at the AGS in 2012, New York City. I'm here with Alan Crandall, who received the Surgery Day Lecture Award this year. It's a real honor, Alan, to be interviewing you here today. I was a fellow with you, it's been 10 years now. Hard to believe.
I can't believe that. Is it
Hard
really?
to believe, yeah. 10 years in Salt Lake City. And so it's a real honor to be here to actually interview for your special lecture you gave. Alan, I thought maybe you could just start off just talking about your lecture you gave. What were your main take-home pearls and your main message?
I think one of the things that I've always tried to do is to be the best anterior segment surgeon. I think most glaucoma patients have comorbidity, cataract, narrow angles, lens dehiscences. There are all sorts of issues that can be addressed at the time of surgery, and I think are best addressed by the most active surgeon in the group. And I've always been the one that's felt that the glaucoma surgeon really should be the best anterior segment surgeon in the group because we deal with the most complicated eyes. And so I really broke it up into what I thought were three main areas. Area one was, although very short, was very important to me, and that was the area of thanking people that I've really learned from and worked with through the years. As you know, you were one of the ones that was fourth on the list, and the top two were Sam Maskett and let's see who. No, see, only was three. You were four.
Obviously.
No, Howard Fine.
Howard Fine.
And it was Howard Fine. And so the first three are really complicated cataracts. And Sam and I wrote a textbook, and I've been on a couple textbooks with Howard Fine. And then after that were all of the glaucoma guys that we've worked with. I mean, your innovation in the Ahmed capsular tension segments, Sioni's innovations, and you know, guys, all the guys that are in our course that we give every year at the Academy, which we've been doing for almost 20 years now. I mean, if you think about it, it's really been a major force in transferring information and new technologies to both the cataract surgeon and the glaucoma surgeon, and it's been a nice intermix. And I've always felt that is a very important part, and acknowledging your workers, the people you've learned from and taught from. So again, one slide, but a very important slide. And the next part was a history. We started 1973 standing up loops, 180-degree incision, 10 or 11, 12, 8-0 sutures, 10 days in the hospital. By the time I was done, it was microscope, but still 8 days in the hospital. 1 year later, 5 days. 1 year later, 3 days. 1 year later, 2 days. And now we're incredibly small incision, no downtime. They want to golf that day, they can do that. The technology marriage between microscopes, computers, phacoemulsification, material science people, the ability to fold a lens, put it through a 1.8 millimeter incision or less, and then have it function perfectly for an indefinite period of time. That was necessary for us to do what we do. That allowed us to start improving the skills necessary, and it becomes actually, as you know, you have to be really stringent. You have to know what you're doing. Every step builds on the previous step. So that's sort of the historical part, from intercap to extracap to phaco to femtosecond. And then also how the glaucoma portion of it really was a much slower transition. But now it's ramping up. Now we have the small incision glaucoma procedures that we're going to be working on. So we're sort of now into our, hopefully, really fast-paced, really learning, really moving ahead part of our discussion. And again, I think the skills necessary to do the kinds of new glaucoma procedures are the same skills that we use in cataract surgery.
But Sally spoke about innovation and development, and how cataract surgery has come a long way pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And glaucoma has taken a bit longer. Any insight into that being sort of in both arenas, and you've seen cataract surgery just take off, glaucoma surgery has taken a lot longer. Is it there's certain reflections you have in terms of why it's taking so long and why it's still something we're having trouble still?
Well, I think that there's certainly a different mindset. I mean, in glaucoma you have a disease that may take 10, 15, 20 years to lead to a significant decrease in the visual loss, and so there's been sort of until recent studies have shown that maybe early intervention is better for a patient than late intervention. So I think that there's always been the mindset, I think, of the glaucoma surgeons in population that first you do medicine, then you do laser, then you do surgery, and so I think it's just been sort of a mindset that isn't set up for quick innovation. But and I think that's changing. I mean, as the studies have come out and said maybe we should do laser first in the African population, maybe we should do trabeculae first in different subgroups of that. So I think that as we've gained more data and more understanding of the pathology of the disease, now we're starting to be able to personalize our attack on it. And I think if you think about cataract surgery, I mean, if you look at we had small pupils, so we quickly developed a way to deal with that. We had IFIS, so we quickly developed a way to deal with that. We have femtosecond, which is a way to deal with certain other types of pathology. So I think just the mindset has taken a while to change. I think that we're now seeing a more aggressive, maybe not aggressive, but there's more innovation available to us now because of better understanding of different pathologies. Yeah.
So, Al, you look at yourself, and it's 2012 now, and we're now seeing, particularly because of people like you who led the way, a lot of crossover with glaucoma, complicated cataract, and vice versa. But like 30 years ago, and even recently as in the last decade, it's not something we usually see. So you're a real rare breed. What was it that really kind of led you that way? I mean, you didn't necessarily, or did you have mentors or role models that kind of opened the door for you to think this way, to sort of be this crossover type of expertise to bring things from one field to the next, or was it something that was? I mean, what was it? I mean, this is a real curiosity for me in terms of what made you have the foresight to think that we need to be, moving in that direction. I mean, and culminating with your lecture yesterday, where you really showed how that as a glaucoma surgeon we need to be the best in the group.
Yeah, I've often thought about that. I mean, I trained at the University of Pennsylvania, and at that point in time, it was literally Harold Shea was the chief, and he was at that point the busiest cataract surgeon, but also the Shea procedure with thermal scleroscopy is one of the techniques used, and I saw that his ability to handle both sides of the patient really, I think it enforced in me that you're in the anterior segment, and if there's a complication of one, having the skills to do both really would make a difference. And then when I went to Utah, a much smaller department, we had essentially three people. We had Randy Olson, who was a cornea specialist, myself, who was glaucoma, and then a retina person. So Randy did cornea and cataract, and I did glaucoma and cataract. And I started to say, I think that this is important, that when we sit down to do a cataract, if it's narrow angle, if it's effusion syndromes, we should be best equipped to manage that. And so that was sort of where I decided that I would try to find out, align myself with the best cataract surgeons, and the best I could with the most innovative glaucoma surgeons, and try to put it together. And I've been lucky enough, and you're a great example of it, I've been lucky enough to have fellows who come in with different mindsets and really innovative thinking, and since I always hate to be second, I got to try to stay ahead of you guys. Didn't work in your case, But it was it's sort of that driving force, I think, that makes it different.
So, Alan, you're kind of the the epitome of innovation, and surgical innovation, particularly in glaucoma and cataract. We get this question a lot from new grads, from people in practice for a few years. They want to innovate. They want to sort of develop those qualities.
Yeah.
Do you think it's something that was innate in you, or something that was cultivated and developed, or something that can be taught? I mean, what are your thoughts? We use innovation a lot.
Yeah, we do
in this world.
Yeah, we do.
And
yeah.
are people born with innovation, the ability to innovate, or is something that is learned? And what advice would you give to those that are trying to move the field forward?
I think that by asking the question, somebody says, I want to do something differently. I think I can improve in this process. That's the kind of person that's going to do it. I don't know. I think it usually is somebody who, like you look at the procedure and say, well, boy, I hate putting that huge thing in, the Sione ring. Maybe if I cut it down, I can use it as part of it. That comes from analyzing everything you do. That's one thing, as you know, I believe very seriously, and that is, as you know, I video all my cases, and I video all the resident cases, and we sit and talk about them, and invariably I can see something that I've done wrong that allows me to improve my skills. And then as I look at it, I might look at something and say, man, it'd be a lot quicker if I did it this way. It's not, so maybe it isn't a huge innovation in one thing, but then you add all the things together. Why am I still doing it this way? Can I improve the efficiency of that? I think it's just a process of changing what you do. I really believe, and I think you and I have talked about this, if you're doing everything the same way, 6 months or a year, you're missing something, because something's changed. Go out and watch good surgeons. Go out and read innovative things on all the journals that you can get a hold of, and don't limit it to just the big names. Go watch anybody. I love to watch people operate. I think that's where you learn a lot.
You spoke about preparedness, about thinking things through, asking the right questions, but one thing that really struck me as I watched you in the OR was just your confidence in handling conditions that you've never seen before. It didn't faze you, and I think that's one of the hardest things for a surgeon to learn to do, is not to be phased out or be distracted by something they haven't seen, because we get those issues when we deal with difficult, complex cases.
Correct.
I mean, how do you thread the fine line between being reckless and saying, not being as diligent versus having the confidence to say, I've done it before, but I can do it, and you go through with it. I mean, how do you straddle that?
That's a good, that's always a difficult question. I think, you hear Bob Oster talk about if you're on the cutting edge, at some point you're going to be cut. And I think we occasionally get into that point. We're doing some of these complex things. But I think what I try to do is I try to look at this situation, say there's a sudden dislocation or dehiscence, and if it's, if they've already had a vitrectomy, again, it's being prepared. You might say, okay, this vitreous is relatively stable, so I believe I can put in an OMAD segment, or I can put in MST hooks, and I think I can stabilize it. And that, whereas in another situation, it would be wiser to say, like, let's say, aniridia with no vitreous support, and thin corneas and thin sclera. You say, you should be able to say, I think maybe in this case, the battle would be better fought with a team approach. And so I think it is hard, and we all want, and we also, I think good surgeons don't like to lose. I think they really want to do the best job for the patient. It's not just, and it's not, I don't think it's I think you don't get good by being having ego. I think you get good by being prepared, having a game plan, and not being in the OR just to be there. You're that. I mean, as you know, in our ORs, I got Led Zeppelin, you got all the modern stuff going on, but we don't even hear it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
We don't even hear it.